Welcome back. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV, and right now we have a very special segment following and connecting Egypt with the rest of Africa as the Egyptian July 1952 revolution, which occurred during the period of the African liberation, and the search for the African identity revealed the Egyptian African face as well. It added the Egyptian history and its pharaonic civilization to the history and the civilization of Africa, transcending for the first time the desert barrier between North Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. The proponents of the Pan-Africa project and the search for the African identity at first spoke of the African history and founding fathers within the context of the black Africans as well. The new Egyptian approach towards the continent attracted their attention, making of Egypt the bridge to the improved Arab-African relations. This month, the African Day is being celebrated in Egypt, and an event called the Africans Speak Egyptian was held to commemorate the Egyptian-African relations. And to be speaking more about such an event, we are honored to be having with us today on Nile Cruise Dr. Yaza Kababa. He's a writer. Dr. Yaza, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for your offering to Nile TV.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, would you tell us more about the celebration, this year's celebration?
Yeah, as a normal, actually, I've been offered to that program last time, and we were attending the situation to be very nice. It was almost an anniversary where we saw Egypt to be the host for the all African and the Middle East region. As in fact, as Egypt was, of course, a mother of civilization for the world class and head for the African states, we have also seen and recognized that situation to be repeated on the issue, on the occasion. Egypt actually had been part of the civilization for the corner of the world, and Egypt is repeating the same thing as a mother of civilization, as mother of Africa and the rest of the world, holding that situation. So it was very interesting, and we found it to be good as a diplomat, as African states, and also as a refugee. I'm a refugee here from Oromo. I'm Oromo and from Oromia. So in all aspects, we found Egypt to be excellent, really.
So the event is called African Speaking in Arabic, or in Egyptian to be specific. So what does that mean, to be more clear?
Yeah, it simply means that through Egypt, Africa can voice self. That means through Egypt. Shortly speaking, it means Egypt can represent and also have represented Africa to speak out the problem, the solution, altogether.
Now, Dr. Yaza, how long have you been in Egypt? When did you come?
Actually, very short moment here in Egypt. I came just a month before as a political refugee. I'm seeking asylum, maybe here in Egypt or somewhere else out. But since I used to be university lecturer back home, I know well about Egypt, who is Egypt, and what is Egypt doing, and the role of Egypt in sub-Saharan and northeastern part of African politics, as well the role of Egypt in Middle East. So even if my stay in Egypt is too short, actually, I had great contact with Egyptian history, because we seldomly claim that our forefather root is from Egypt, where the living pyramid is standing. I'm Oromo, and we claim our Kush father is from Egypt. So we are from the same womb.
The same ancestors.
Yeah.
Yes, Doctor, so you said that Egypt can be the voice of Africa in terms of problems and in terms of solutions. So what are the main problems, in your opinion, that are facing Africa, and how can it be solved?
The great problem in Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan region, is problem of good governance. This is obviously known all over the world, and good governance resulting in poverty, inequality.
So it's not about potential, and it's not about resources.
Yeah, it's not all about resources. If you take resource, for instance, my country, Oromia, is full of resources, full of human capital who can manipulate it. But because of good governance in Ethiopia, people are migrating, and some of them are drowned into Mediterranean Sea. As you remember very recently, this is a problem of good governance. It's not a problem of economy. It's not a problem of wealth. It's not the problem of resource. You can also take Congo, the richest country on the world, having a resource, all kinds of resource. But the resource doesn't matter actually. What matters here is a problem of good governance. Good governance results in poverty. Poverty results in migration, killing, torturing, arresting, and maltreatment of its nation. So, in this case, Egypt can be looked as a safest place. Why we are here is because of the safest place, the hosting style, hospitality you are giving us. Not only Oromo, actually, from many countries of Africa. You do have refugees here.
Yes.
Political refugees, economic refugees, many kinds of refugees actually. People from Sudan, people from Ethiopia, people from Rwanda, Burundi, Sudan actually, two parts of Sudan, southern and northern. People from Kenya, people from Uganda. I've already met these kinds of refugees here in Egypt. So,
And the main reason that brought them here is security and safety.
Yeah, Egypt is more safest and no security problem. You know why I'm speaking like this here? I'm more safest here. I can't even talk a word in my country about government and good governance. So, you can also imagine the difference between...
So what about the people of Egypt?
Oh, really, they are fine. I'm just saying this not because I'm sitting in front of you. Really, this is from the deepest part of my heart. They are really lovely, of course.
Now,
I feel home when I live in Egypt. Really, I feel home. I feel brothers and sisters. We are in Egypt, and we can move 24 hours. No problem.
Yes.
So,
yes.
the people of Egypt are nice and they're friendly.
Now, Dr. Kababa, what do you think should be the most important or the first issue that Egypt should discuss, since we are temporary members of the Security Council representing Africa? And actually this month also we were also heading the Security Council as well. So what should be the first topic concerning Africa that we should have addressed, or we should start addressing as well?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. Egypt, representing all these positions in Africa, should discuss about good governance, really. A government of different countries pretending democracy actually are laying the people and the world. They are not democrats. So, in the existence of prevalent killing on the streets, the government should not be stayed fully fledged. So, Egypt needs to discuss about human rights, basic human rights, democratic rights, and good governance in a given country. If there is something to deal with this, it is a deal of democracy. It is a deal of human rights. It is a deal of good governance. This precedes all situations in a country. So, in relating to any other country out of Egypt, Egypt should discuss upon this one. About the use, for instance, Africa actually today are occupied with productive age ranging from 15 to 35, which accounts almost for 60% of the total population in Africa. Actually, These productive age are not doing their best for their country and their nation because of good governance. Most of them are flying their country, escaping to Europe, USA, Australia, Canada, or else out of their country anyhow. So the problem is a problem of good governance. This productive group should produce a lot in their country and their nation, and the change which we are dreaming for is through these productive groups. Unless otherwise we conserve this productive group, it will remain a dream only to progress, to change the country. So most of the country below Sahara, particularly in the Horn region of Africa, are not using this productive age. This is a great loss for Africa as well as for the country too. So this is a point to be discussed by the side of Egypt, I think.
Do you think that in the future Egypt can be cooperating more and coordinating more with other African countries to be raising the level of governance, as you said, in Africa, to be reaching the level of Egypt in governance, in terms of governance here?
Exactly, because Egypt actually is an old state. When I say an old, it has a long history of governance and government building. So sharing this experience, showing the way and the means, Egypt can be a model for most African countries, for entire African countries itself. They can learn a lot from Egypt, as I think. We know and we saw the situations in Egypt, in history as well as in living situation, how people are tolerant, how the military is also doing best, cooperating with the people.
Yes.
We saw what military is, what police is, what politics is, and what the people is. How much they are independent and how much they are dependent upon each other. Let me say something. Military for Egypt is people.
Yes.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yeah, people is military, and the vice versa, and for police is too. But in most countries in Africa, military means government, and government means military. That means,
so the difference that is there a unity between the Egyptians and their army for the sake of the country? Yes.
for the sake of the country, they are one, and for the sake of the people, they are one. That means military always work with the people and for the interest of the people, not for the interest of the government politics.
Yes.
But in most African countries, military works for the politics of the government.
Maybe
if the government fails,
that
the
can
military
change in the
fails.
future, in the near future.
So in this case too, Egypt can be a good example for most African states.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Kababa, would you tell me more about yourself? Because in your city you're a writer, so are you a political writer, and that's why that's the reason behind your asylum? Tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I used to be university lecturer. I said I'm a novelist, author of 5 different books, published of course. They're back in home. And I'm also a journalist,
Yes.
hosting my own media back home. So I used to write, as you said, I'm a political writer, of course. Political writer, and all my books are about politics of my people. And so, lastly, because of the acquisition on my books, and also my deed on exposing the brutal system of our government, exposing to the world, and the day shooting on the street. You can refer from the Google that our government had shot 400 people per month, and particularly in the last 3-4 months, we have lost more than 1,000 Oromo on the street, just shooting them on the street, and I expose this to the world media. So I have even been sentenced to on-site shots, and that is why I escaped and flee my country to Egypt.
Yes.
This is a problem.
So how do you see Egypt following the election of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? Egypt is coming back to Africa, is reaching out for Africa. How do you see this right now, and actually re-emulating what President Gamal Abdel Nasser was doing maybe 50 or 60 years back?
Yeah. Just to begin with Gamal Abdel Nasser, historically actually, Gamal Abdel Nasser was a very influential person, very influential president, probably the lovely government ever we had, I think, historically, as I saw, and he was influential, who dramatically changed the politics of northeastern and the whole region of Africa. Since that, you are going the same line actually, progressing with politics, with economy, and also in social status. Even if there is certain limits on social status in every country, in every section of the world, Egypt is doing, again, I can witness, Egypt is by far better than many other countries in Africa, many other countries, including those which are claimed to be developed. Egypt is by far better. So the election is reaching the entire section of the society and out of the boundary of Egypt to be exemplified for others. You can amend your election, as you saw,
Yes.
within a given 6 months. Actually, election does mean something which costs much. Yeah. So, concluding this maybe twice per 2 years or twice per 3 years means a great deed, of course. So you have achieved this goal, and the situation is also reaching out of the boundary of Egypt. So still you kept on being good example, I can say.
Now, Dr. Kababa, how do you see the role of or the efficiency of the African Union in resolving the African issues?
Pardon, please, once.
The African Union, how do you see its role? Is it efficiently working in terms of resolving or functioning in terms of resolving African issues?
I have a deal of comment on AU, really. The headquarters of AU is located in Addis Ababa, and AU was holding its meeting, its annual meeting in Addis Ababa while Ethiopian government was shooting many Oromos there in the street. So I don't think AU is getting efficiently its role and also its role in concluding certain issues in Africa. So for me, personally, I think AU is not doing good, because AU should not tolerate those brutal butcher governments in Africa if it is really working efficiently unto its objectives.
Yes, Dr. Yaza Kababa, the political writer and journalist, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise, and welcome to Egypt.
Thank you very much for your offering as well as your good host. So I need to say thank you again for your hospitality to your people and to government.
Well, thank you. And right now we'll be going out for a quick break and a report about the military zones with Rehan Morsi, so stay tuned.